My name's DJ Ray. I do these weekly podcasts every Tuesday night live at 8 p.m. Usually just on TikTok, but tonight I'm trying something new. I'm going TikTok and Facebook. So that way more people can log on, and eventually I'm going to be adding YouTube. So just a process. I hope things will keep getting better and better. Anyway, like I said, I'm DJ Ray. This is my show, DJ Ray's Music Goats, featuring the greatest of all time in different music categories. Every week we have a different category: the greatest guitar player of all time, the greatest singer of all time, etc., etc. Tonight, it's all about boy bands. We want to find out who's the GOAT, who's the greatest boy band of all time. And we're going to find out in about 30, 40 minutes who the number one is. And that's our whole goal here. The countdown is just, just a way of showing honorary mentions. Unless you're in the top five, it is what it is, right? But number one, who's going to be the number one all time? And listen, I'm going back to the 50s here, just a warning. So if you got it in your head that boy bands started in the 90s, not necessarily true. Or 80s, I guess. Well, see, every decade had a version of the boy bands. Let me just tell you that, right up until today. So, that said, greatest boy bands of all time is tonight, and I just made a couple notes here just before you guys start typing in who you think it is. So, and you can redo if you want, although that's an amazing pick. What makes a boy band different than any other band out there? When I say any other band, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, even newer bands, modern bands. I'm really just, thank you. I'm really just, don't qualify. Just because there's 4-5 boys in the band doesn't make it a boy band. Led Zeppelin is not a boy band, Van Halen is not a boy band, okay? What a boy band is, you can usually tell by these 4 traits. 1, boy bands tend to focus on dancing just as much as they focus on their music. And they get a bit of a bad rap for that a bit, because most true musicians, because you can argue there's a lot of great talent in these boy bands, especially vocals. It's like having 4 singers on 4 or 5 singers in your band as opposed to a drummer or a bass player. So boy bands tend to focus on dancing a lot more, which kind of takes away from the music, and you rarely see them playing instruments. Which leads me to my second one. Boy bands rarely play their own instruments. I'm not saying they don't ever, but I usually compare these types of music groups to a glorified form of karaoke. I know it sounds bad, but these guys know how to karaoke. Third thing is, usually every member of a boy band is spotlighted rather than just the lead singer and maybe the lead guitar player. Like it's like a group thing, so it's pretty balanced. And finally, boy bands usually produce commercially mainstream music that plays well on many radio stations that you hear going back and forth to work. So that'll give you some ideas. Ange's checks all boxes, so that's a great choice for Boys to Men. You might want to pick someone else because Ange has the lock on that one. So with that, let's get into it. And don't forget to type in who you think is the greatest. And you've got till I get to the top 5, and you can vote until then. But there's a kind of a perk to voting early, because if somebody else picks your song, then you can't pick it, right? Because you came in second. So nobody really, if anybody picks Boys to Men right now, Ange has a lock on it. Okay, so everybody's good. I think everybody's good. Loveland Riki has joined. Frankie Flips has joined. Round of applause. Welcome, guys. And So, coming to you live from TikTok and Facebook, I'm DJ Ray. Tonight's episode, greatest boy band of all time. And we're going to start with number 20, Frankie Flips and the Teenagers. Frankie Lymon and the Teenagers, number 20. Noted for being the very first teenage singing group, Frankie Lymon and the Teenagers had their 2 biggest hits in 1956 with the singles I Want You to Be My Girl and Why Do Fools Fall in Love. The latter was the group's signature track. And in 1998, the movie Why Do Fools Fall in Love was released. This biographical drama was based on the true story of singer Frankie Lyman, who was just 13 years old when he became famous. I bet you most of you guys never even might have heard of that song, Why Do Fools Fall in Love? I'm sure you heard that, but I bet you most of you never heard of Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. I would have to say, I don't have immediate proof here, the first ever boy band in the history of music, mid 1950s. So I told you, and I started right off with a bang. We're going to go way back, not just 90s and 2000s. Okay. Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers were very unique in the sense that they were one of the very first integrated music groups, including 3 African Americans and 2 Puerto Rican members. Although Frankie Lyman died at just 25, in 1993, he was officially inducted posthumously into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So not only were they the first boy band, they didn't even use the word boy band then, but they were also one of the first integrated music groups. So, you know what? They say a lot of great things about Frankie Lyman. Like I said, he died at 25. I think it was something tragic. I don't want to get into it because last time I slipped and used the S word, and you don't want to do that on TikTok especially. No, I don't know what exactly off the top of my head, but he died young, tragically, at 25. And he would have been huge, huge. Who knows, maybe another Little Richard or something. But yeah, he was big. And he was right out in the time of Little Richard, but 13. So number 20 boy band of all time goes to the nod, the respect, Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. I wonder if he's related to Frankie Flips. Anyway, carry on here. Mommy Dearest has finally shown, or maybe I just didn't see her yet, coming through on TikTok. Okay. Let's just see. Okay, so far, we're at number 20, which brings us to number 19. And this band is called Westlife. Formed in 1998. Another band you haven't heard of, I'm sure. This Irish boy band has sold over 55 million vinyl pieces and are holders of 4 Guinness World Records. Throughout their career, this group has received numerous accolades, including 2 Brit Awards, 4 MTV Awards, and a World Music Award. Together, they have produced a total of 16 number 1 singles in the UK. Their highest charting American single, Swear It Again, released in 1999, peaked at number 20 on the US charts. You might want to say that Westlife was as popular in the UK as the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were in America. So, did I give anything away there? Hope not. Or was it a trick? Anyway, Westlife, huge in the UK, and would have been a lot higher on this chart were I in Ireland or even England right now. But because we're in Canada, coming in at number 19 is Westlife. Once again, I'm DJ Ray. I do these lives every Tuesday at 8 p.m. from about 8 to 8:45-ish, give or take. My show is called DJ Ray's Music Goats. And every week I pick the greatest of all time in a different music category. Tonight, it's all about those boy bands. And thus far, at number 20, we had Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers from the mid-1950s. And at number 19, we had Irish band Westlife. And at number 18, you guys may remember this one, Hanson. This American pop rock band shares something with the Bee Gees that not too many groups can say. They're made up of 3 brothers, Isaac, Taylor, and Zach Hanson. This pop trio is unique in the sense that they're less focused on dance routines and more focused on musicianship. That said, their primary fan base, made up primarily of teens, were most impressed by Hanson's commercial pop sound. So they really didn't have to use their instrumental skills too much, is another nice way of saying it. Having sold over 16 million records worldwide, Hanson is best known for their 1997 hit single, Bop, which earned 3 Grammy Award nominations. The brothers also had chart success with the songs I Will Come to You, 1997, and This Time Around in 2000. In 1998, Hanson won the World Music Award as the best selling new artist. So you're going to see, I want to say something right now. That was number 18, Hanson. I want to say something right now about boy bands that I kind of touched upon there, but fully, is that what a boy band is really an opinion in many ways. Okay, I think I'm narrowing it down right to the guts of it, but there are boy bands out there that are great at playing their instruments, and I try to cut it there because if they're really great at playing their instruments or showcase their instruments more, they're not really a boy band anymore, even though they're all boys. A great example before anybody picks them is the Beatles. I, with good conscience, cannot place the Beatles on a boy band list, even though they almost epitomize what a boy band is. The problem is the Beatles are just too great of musicians, and they focus on that. They don't focus on dancing around like clowns. A lot of times the Beatles are standing stoic. So that's where the line is drawn. But you're going to find a couple bands here that are pretty good at instruments that I do consider as boy bands. And Hanson's one of them, although Hanson may as well not have had instruments because, this reporter's opinion, I could do without pretty much all of their songs. They're way too teeny bopperish. And at the time, in the late 90s, the teenage girls loved them. There's always a different boy band for every generation or two. So coming in at number 18, I give the nod to Hanson. Which takes me to an interesting number 17. Number 17, Menudo. Again, you're probably thinking, who are these bands? You're going to see it creeping up. But in case you don't know who Menudo is, let me just give you a little tidbit. Estimated to have sold more than 20 million albums worldwide, Puerto Rican boy band Menudo is considered to be the most iconic Latin pop band of all time. Some of the secular magazines that agree with this notion include Billboard, 17, Us Weekly, and Teen Vogue. In both 1984 and 1985, this Latin pop sensation received 2 Grammy Award nominations for Best Latin Pop Performance. It's noteworthy to mention, just like NSYNC produced Justin Timberlake, Menudo in many ways created Ricky Martin, who served with the group for 5 years in the late 1980s. Did you know that? Ricky Martin was just 17 when he left Menudo in 1989. Eventually, he would become much more successful as a solo artist and a pioneer in the new Latin movement that was revolutionizing Spanish music in America during the mid to late 1990s. And when you think about it, it started off with kind of a merengue pop vibe, and next thing you know, in the early 2000s, reggaeton was born. So did Ricky Martin indirectly help spark the early 2000s reggaeton craze? You never know. But I do know that number 17 goes to Ricky Martin and Menudo. All right. Another band that plays instruments coming in at number 16 are the Bay City Rollers. Similar to Hanson, this boy group was more focused on playing their instruments than choreographing any dance routines. That said, they had their own way of being gimmicky without any special dancing. Instead, these 5 lads from Scotland had their own unique fashion style that quickly became popular in the 1970s, especially with teenagers. This group scored a total of 6 top 40 singles in the US, with hits like Money Honey, 1976, I Only Want to Be With You, 1976, You Made Me Believe in Magic, 1977, and their only US number 1 hit song, gotta get that gum off, thanks for the gift, Saturday Night, 1976, Saturday, night. The Bay City Rollers became so popular in the mid-1970s that people actually started comparing them to the Beatles. Now, before you bust a gut laughing, these two generational acts had more in common than you might think. However, music wasn't one of them. In a sense, it would probably be easier to make a comparable connection with the Monkees instead. And even that would be a bit of a stretch musically. Either way you slice it, the Bay City Rollers were a great fad that has become forever associated with the 1970s. And their fashion sense lives on. Or does it? Or is that just in Scotland? Things that make you go, hmm. I'm DJ Ray. I'm here every Tuesday night live at 8 p.m. on TikTok. And if things work out, tonight's our test pilot for Facebook, which we have here as well. So it's the first time I'm trying to go live on two social media platforms simultaneous. Thank you. Thank you very much. I like the gift. But yeah, we're doing it. And tonight, it's all about music goats, the greatest of all time. Who's the greatest boy band ever? So far, let me give you a recap. Coming in at number 20 was Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, way back mid-1950s. There was boy bands, or they were one boy band. Number 19 was Irish band Westlife. Number 18, American band Hanson. Number 17, Puerto Rican group Menudo. Number 16 was the Bay City Rollers, all the way from Scotland. And number 15, another American band, 98 Degrees. Unlike most boy bands, 98 Degrees weren't manufactured by a record company, as they made their own way up, and eventually they were picked up by a record label. Fronted by lead singer Nick Lachey, this foursome had chart success in the U.S. Speak much? In the U.S. I know I'm Canadian and stuff, but no, I didn't mean any offense, American. I'm still your friend, and I always will be. In the U.S., they had hits like Invisible Man, 1997, Because of You, 1998, The Hardest Thing, 1999, and Give Me Just One Night, 2000, which features a very cool Latin undertone. If you've never heard that song, Give Me Just One Night, it wasn't their most popular song, but it arguably their best. It just got a nice touch of Latin to it, but not an overkill. So it's very commercial sounding. Check it out sometimes. You know, look on YouTube, whatever. It's called Give Me Just One Night by 98 Degrees. I would also rank their ballad The Hardest Thing as one of the greatest mellow tracks of all time. So that one's called The Hardest Thing. If you like a nice slow song, it's really good. In the year 1999, did I say this already? I don't think I did. 98 Degrees won the Teen Choice Award for New Breakout Artist. And the following year, they were Grammy nominated as a feature on Mariah Carey's iconic single, Thank God I Found You. So coming in at number 15, Nick Lachey and 98 Degrees. And that will take me to song number 14. This group, well, they're called Take That. They're an English pop group formed in 1990 that have sold approximately 14 million singles worldwide, while scoring close to 30 top 40 hits in the UK, including 12 number one singles. Overall, they have charted an incredible 56 number one singles internationally. Take That also produced one of the world's greatest UK solo artists ever, with Robbie Williams, who has personally received a record 18 Brit Awards. As a group, Take That has won 8 Brit Awards, 4 Ivor Novello Awards, and in 2012, they played at the closing ceremony of the London Olympics. Yeah, and I mean, look, we never heard of them much here in America. They didn't chart well in Canada. When I say America, I mean North America, which is what we should all be together right now, not Canada, US, North America. Then nobody's giving up any sovereignty. Anyway, that's my political moment. So, yeah, Take That. We're really huge in the UK and not so much in the rest of the world. But they were so huge in the UK and producing Robbie Williams. I don't know how well you guys know Robbie Williams, but he is to take that, what Michael Jackson is to the Jackson 5, or Justin Timberlake is to NSYNC. He's huge, and he became really big, as much bigger than Take That as a solo artist. And I think he's still doing stuff. So coming in at number 14, I got to give it to Take That. And again, just like I said earlier with Irish band Westlife, I would put They Take That much higher if I were in the UK. But my show is really North American based, so they're at number 14. So take that. Anyway, number 13, the Osmonds. The Osmonds were an American family group that consisted of brothers Alan, Wayne, Merrill, and Jay. Eventually, younger siblings Jimmy and Donnie joined the group, and in similar fashion to Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, it was Donnie who ended up experiencing the most success. Another little tidbit that you might find interesting, both of these teen sensations had little sisters who were the second most famous in each respective family. For the Osmond, it was Marie Osmond, and of course for the Jacksons, it was Janet. The Osmonds' biggest singles include songs like One Bad Apple, 1970, Yo-Yo, 1971, Down by the Lazy River, 1972, and Love Me for a Reason, 1974. Having sold over 77 million records worldwide, in 2003, the Osmond family was honored with a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame. Just love it, yeah. I keep bugging my sister to do a little show where I'm Donnie and she's Marie. So it just kind of reminded me of that. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, my favorite number 13. It's the Osmonds. And of course, Donnie and Marie went on to have that little variety show in the 70s too. So they were a different kind of, very commercial. Okay. Coming in at number 12. Ange, I think you said this one. I can't remember. But if you did, I'm sorry. Didn't even make the top 10, but a great band nonetheless. If anybody said it, it's New Edition. Coming in at number 12. Formed in 1978 by singer Bobby Brown, New Edition reached its height of popularity in the mid-1980s and became the blueprint for the modern boy band. In 1985, Bobby Brown was fired from their group. He starts it and he gets fired, eh? What a bad boy. Gets fired from the group and went on to have a very successful solo career. In his absence, New Edition continued as a foursome until 1987, when they hired Ralph Travant as their new lead singer. The group's most popular singles include Cool It Now, 1984, Earth Angel, 1986, If It Isn't Love, 1988, and Hit Me Off, 1996. Together, their accolades include 2 American Music Awards, a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame, and in 2017, they received the BET Lifetime Achievement Award. Coming in at number 12, New Edition. That's it, yeah. Let me just grab a quick drink here as we carry on. Just want to give you a quick reminder that next week, the theme for my live is the greatest 80s song of all time. We're going to get retro on you. So any song that was released in early 1980 to as late 1989 qualifies. The greatest 80s song of all time is next week. That's April Fool's Day. Will I be here? Well, if I was here on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, I'll be here on April Fool's Day. I'm the biggest fool of all. Excellent, Teddy. Okay, so welcome, CJ. Thanks for the love, by the way. I'm loving the hearts. I'm sure that's my mom on there, doing one of these, but anyway, I'll take it. Okay, so just another reminder, I'm here every Tuesday, 8 o'clock, with my show Music Goats, featuring the greatest of all time and different music themes. Tonight's theme, the greatest boy band of all time. Number 20 was Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers. Number 19 was Westlife. Number 18 was Hanson. Number 17 was Puerto Rican band Menudo. Number 16, Bay City Rollers. Number 15, 98 Degrees. Number 14 was Take That. Number 13, The Osmonds. And number 12, New Edition. Which takes me to probably the most, well, off the top of my head, I don't quote me on that, but one of the better musician groups and actors. Maybe the whole package. But yeah. Number 11, the Monkees. Remember I was saying earlier how the Beatles wouldn't be on this because they're just, I didn't mean any shot at the Monkees being bad enough to make this because they're right on that edge, and because they're not as great as the Beatles musician wise, they're probably the most extreme where they could honestly qualify as being one of the best bands, period. Maybe not of all time, I don't know, I'd have to think of that. But I'm putting them at number 11 on DJ Ray's greatest boy bands of all time. Originally, Davy Jones, Mickey Dolenz, Peter Tork, and Mike Nesmith were meant to form a fictional band created by the NBC network for their new musical comedy series, The Monkees. Formed in LA, this foursome were expected to be better actors rather than musicians. It was this scenario that made it difficult for the boys to be taken seriously. However, in the end, most people forgot about the show. But musically speaking, the Monkees still have a dedicated fan base that is all about their music, not acting. Not that any of them are around anymore to act. I think one of them's still alive. Is it Mickey Dolenz? Don't know off the top of my head. Don't quote me. Respect certainly came to the Monkees after their 1966 debut single, Last Train to Clarksville, that topped the US music charts. They followed up with a second chart topper, I'm a Believer, released just a few months later. Needless to say, 1966 was a good year for the Monkees. Some of their other hits include songs like A Little Bit Me, A Little Bit You, 1967, Pleasant Valley Sunday, 1967, and their final US number one single, Daydream Believer. When I was little, I actually thought the Monkees were part of the British invasion because their lead singer, Davy Jones, had a distinct English accent. And I remember finding out they were American. Well, the other three members are American. And they're considered an American band. It was a very enlightening day for me when I found that out. But yeah, coming in at number 11 on DJ Ray's greatest boy bands of all time, the Monkees. Okay, we're going into the top 10. This is where it starts getting exciting, guys. Cheers. I believe you're right, Teddy. Neil Diamond Road, I'm a Believer. Yeah, great songwriter. And when I think of the Monkees, I mean, I like Daydream Believer the best, but when I think of the Monkees, that's the song that always comes to mind. I'm a Believer. I think that's their signature hit. Coming in at number 10, BTS. It's different these days. The boy bands are all around the world, eh? Short for the Bangtan Boys, BTS was a pioneer in Korean music. Having sold in excess of 40 million albums worldwide, this Asian boy band is the best-selling music group in South Korean history. Their most popular singles include, remember, these are on the Billboard American charts, so it's not just on Korean charts. Their most popular singles include Fake Love 2018, Boy With Love 2019, Dynamite 2020, Life Goes On 2020, Butter 2021, and Permission to Dance also in 2021. They are the first ever Korean music group to receive nominations for Grammy Awards and Brit Awards. See, that's a secret, I guess, of breaking through the UK market, is be somewhere in between. Dubbed the Princes of Pop, in 2019, Time Magazine named this group as one of the 100 most influential people of the year. And in 2020, BTS became the fastest group since the Beatles to chart 4 US number one albums in less than 2 years. So yeah, they're really making a run. I gotta say one thing though about K-pop, short for Korean pop. It was such a fad for the last decade or so. And if you think about it, as good as they are, and it's good music, it's like a trip back to the mid to late 90s for North America. It's like they're praising all these bands, how great they are, and their numbers are great. Look, I just put BTS at number 10, but they're already broken up, and they've been pretty much going their own ways. And all their dance moves, all their sounds like things we heard from the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC in the late 90s. So when I look at Korean pop, and that's their, their thing right now, it's like, what took you so long? You're watching old videos from, New Kids on the Block here and making it popular. But it's kind of hard for Americans and Canadians to fall into it, because imagine how big they would be otherwise, because we've heard this sound for many years. So that's my rant on K-pop, But that said, even with that rant, they're very, very talented, BTS, almost perfect in their moves and everything. And they've charted successfully on Billboard Hot 100. So kudos. And coming in at number 10, BTS. Okay, just before we carry on, I want to remind you, I'm DJ Ray. I'm here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. It looks like I'm going to be on not just TikTok, but Facebook Live, as we're live right now, if you want to switch over and, and bar hop sort of thing. My show is called Music Goats, and I feature the greatest of all time in different music themes each week. This week, it's all about boy bands. And just so you know, I'm not being biased, I'm going to be doing the greatest girl groups in 2 or 3 weeks as well. Stay tuned for that. Coming in at number 9, the Jonas Brothers. Just like Hanson and the Bee Gees, the Jonas Brothers also feature 3 siblings who are all extremely talented as individuals. Both Kevin and Joe Jonas have experienced success as solo artists. As a trio, their highest charting singles include SOS 2007, Burnin' Up 2008, Only Human 2019, and their number 1 US single Sucker, also released in 2019. As individuals, Kevin's biggest hit, I think, was called Jealous, and Joe Jonas started a band called DNCE and Cake by the Ocean. So these guys are very talented, and in 2008, the Jonas Brothers were Grammy nominated for Best New Artist, while winning the American Music Award for Best Breakthrough Artist. Some of the group's biggest accolades include an MTV Video Award, 3 Billboard Music Awards, 4 AMAs, 17 Teen Choice Awards, and in 2023, they received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. My choice for number 9, best boy band of all time, greatest boy band of all time, the Jonas Brothers. Kevin, Joe, and what's the other guy's name? That's bad. Okay. Strike that part. I'm going to edit that part out, okay? Feel bad for him. It was really all about Joe Jonas, and Kevin just came out of the rears. I think he's the youngest too, and in many ways, Kevin's kind of taken over as the heartthrob of the band. But anyway, number 9, the Jonas Brothers, taking me to number 8, New Kids on the Block. When I think of the prototypical boy band, New Kids on the Block are usually the first one that comes to mind. Not because of their music per se, but my oldest daughter was just a preteen at the time, and she definitely made it known that New Kids on the Block were the bomb, or whatever terms the kids used back then. Regardless of how you slice it, this particular boy band from Massachusetts sold more than 80 million records worldwide, making them one of the best-selling bands ever. Between the years 1989 and 1990, New Kids on the Block scored 3 U.S. number 1 singles with the hits I'll Be Loving You Forever, Hangin' Tough, and Step by Step. They also had several top 10 singles, including Please Don't Go Girl in 1988, You Got It, The Right Stuff, 1988, Cover Girl, 1989, Didn't I Blow Your Mind, 1989, Tonight, 1990, and If You Go Away, 1991. In 1990, they won 2 American Music Awards for Favorite Pop Band and Favorite Pop Album. And in 2014, New Kids on the Block received their very own star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame. Yeah, New Kids on the Block. What a craze that was in the late 80s. It's like every teenage girl had a poster of them in their, certainly mine did. Number 7 on DJ Ray's greatest boy bands of all time. We explained earlier what a boy band is, so hopefully you were here for that. You know, basically it's a band that, you know, dances a lot more than a regular band, that, you know, they usually don't play instruments, although not always, but usually kind of like a glorified form of karaoke. And usually every member of a boy band is spotlighted. It's not like anyone's the star until they become a star, you know, like well, when Justin Timberlake was with NSYNC, he wasn't the star per se. They were all equal, but he just got all the girls on his side and became a teen idol, and things have a way of finding their own way. So, yeah. Greatest boy bands of all time. Coming in at number 7, One Direction. Formed in 2010 on British singing competition The X Factor, this boy band were propelled to global stardom by means of social media. They became the first British act to have their debut album top the charts on the Billboard 200 with Up All Night. This boy band was unique in the sense that all 5 members went on to have successful solo careers, especially Harry Styles. Considered teen idols, members of One Direction were often subject to fan hysteria, comparable to Beatlemania. Although nobody should be compared to the iconic Beatles as a unit, the talent in this group was unmatched. Their highest chart singles include songs like What Makes You Beautiful, 2011, Little Things, 2012, One Way or Another, 2013, Best Song Ever, 2013, Story of My Life, 2013, Drag Me Down, 2015, and Perfect, also in 2015. It's interesting to watch how this Simon Cowell creation evolved over the years. They were quite young when they started out and initially created a lot of poppy music that catered primarily to teen boppers. That said, in my opinion, their final 2 releases in 2015 were by far their best. Each member of One Direction was maturing and turning into a bunch of individual stars. As great as One Direction was heading, see what I did there? In 2016, they all realized that something even greater was waiting as solo artists. I would have to say that the 2015 songs Drag Me Down and Perfect are not only my 2 favorite One Direction songs, but they're both 2 of my all-time favorite songs, period, especially Perfect. I know when you think of One Direction, they started off a little boppy. They were created by Simon Cowell from The X Factor. They didn't even know each other. They didn't come together they didn't come on the show as a band. They all got cut, but they were all so good that Simon Cowell called them back. I remember watching that episode, called them back and said, what do you guys think about becoming a group or something like that? They just looked at each other. Sure. They're all good looking boys, all great singers. And next thing you know, One Direction was born. So yeah, I would recommend that song Perfect though. It's a bit of a ballad. If you haven't heard it yet, amazing song. It's up there with any song, you know. Perfect by One Direction, and One Direction takes the number 7 spot. Which takes me to number 6. And I believe somebody said this one for sure, but you guys are chatting so much, I don't think I'll be able to find it. I love the chatting, so don't keep it going. But whoever said Boys to Men, great choice, and it comes in at number 6. Known for their soulful ballads and a cappella harmonies, Boyz II Men literally owned the US music charts during the 1990s. The only other artist that topped them was a little songbird by the name of Mariah Carey. Between 1991 and 1998, Boyz II Men had a total of 13 top 40 singles, of which 4 peaked at number 1. These chart toppers include End of the Road, 1992, I'll Make Love to You, 1994, On Bended Knee, 1994, and Four Seasons of Loneliness, 1997. They were also featured on Mariah Carey's 1995 recording of One Sweet Day. When their song On Bended Knee took the number 1 spot away from their other song, I'll Make Love to You, Boyz II Men became only the 3rd musical act after the Beatles and Elvis Presley to replace themselves atop the Billboard Hot 100 chart. This led Billboard magazine to name Boyz II Men as the biggest boy band. One moment. Why does TikTok do these little puzzle things that interrupt you? I think they'd have another way, like an earplug or something. They became only the 3rd musical act after the Beatles and Elvis to replace themselves atop the Billboard Hot 100 chart. And this led Billboard magazine to name Boyz II Men as the biggest boy band between the years 1987 to 2012. So that means they don't think they're bigger from 2013 up or from 1986 down. So it looks like I got them positioned in pretty much the right spot. Coming in at number 6 on DJ Ray's greatest boy bands of all time, Boyz II Men. Okay, we're in the top 5, guys. I got 5 powerhouses coming at you right now. You're going to love this. 5 powerhouses. And I'll tell you right now, I haven't seen anybody pick the number 1. Oh, thanks, Lee. My cousin Lee's on Facebook. So you know what, Lee? You're my first ever guest, or officially, because I've gone live before, but not as DJ Ray's Music. So let me give Lee a little, my first ever Facebook, unless I'm missing, sorry, I mean my first ever comment. I'm not that bad. Number 5. The Beach Boys. Another one of those ones that were musicians, is there any other band in music history that quite compares to the legendary Beach Boys? These guys definitely knew the meaning of the word wheelhouse, in the sense that their entire discography seems to revolve around themes of summer. Particularly popular with teenagers, the Beach Boys were one of the few American rock bands to maintain their commercial standing during the British invasion. As a matter of fact, the British invasion hit North America so hard, musically speaking, that it was up to bands like the Beach Boys to kind of keep America still relevant with music. And they did an amazing job. I would call them the anti-British invasion American boy band. And certainly up-tempo and fun. Some of their biggest hits include Surfin' Safari, 1962, Surfin' USA, 1963, Fun, 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 1964, California Girls, 1965, Barbara Ann, 1965, and Wouldn't It Be Nice, 1966. It's a lot, eh? Well, if that's not enough for you, they added an additional 4 U.S. chart toppers, numero unos, with the songs I Get Around, 1964, Help Me Rhonda, 1965, and Good Vibrations, 1966. Fast forward 22 years later, and the movie Cocktail, starring Tom Cruise, inspired the Beach Boys' final number 1 single, Kokomo. It's a nice song. Having sold over 100 million records worldwide, in 1988, the original 5 members of the Beach Boys were all inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 10 years later, they were also selected to join the Vocal Group Hall of Fame. You gotta love them. Number 5 goes to the Beach Boys. And with that, Just a reminder, I'm DJ Ray. I'm here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. live on TikTok and starting tonight also on Facebook. So you can join me on whatever's your favorite of the two. Oh, I see my sister jumped over and oh, look at this. We're getting a bit of action going on in the Facebook Live now too. Who's going to win, Facebook or TikTok? Anyway, number 4 on my list, and you guys better pick. I haven't seen many picks tonight. I think I stumped you anyway tonight. I keep saying that, and then somebody picks like last minute who the greatest of all time is. I can't tell you that right now. Give me 5 more minutes, but I can tell you number 4 is the Backstreet Boys. The Backstreet Boys are an American vocal group who rose to stardom in 1999 after the release of their 3rd studio album, Millennium. Having sold more than 130 million records worldwide, they are the first group since Led Zeppelin to have their first 10 albums reach the top on Billboard's album chart. That's pretty incredible. A boy band compared to Led Zeppelin. That's like throwing oil in with water, isn't it? Anyway, having charted multiple top 40 singles in the US, the Backstreet Boys are particularly known for hits like Quit Playing Games with My Heart, 1996. That was a hard one to say. Everybody, 1997. All I Have to Give, 1998. I Want It That Way, 1999. Show Me the Meaning of Being Lonely, 1999. And The Shape of My Heart, 2000. Among their many accolades, the Backstreet Boys have won 5 Billboard Music Awards, 2 American Music Awards, and a Juno Award. Go Canada. On April 22nd, 2013, they were honored with a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame. Coming in at number 4 on DJ Ray's greatest boy band of all time, I give it to the Backstreet Boys. Okay, I'm going to do my little drum roll for the top 3. I'm going to remind you once again that next week my live is going to be the greatest 80s song of all time. Lots to choose from there. From 1980 to 1989. What was the greatest 80s song? Interesting time. Very colorful. All right, number 3 on DJ Ray's greatest boy bands of all time. Boy band. We're looking for the GOAT. NSYNC. Often compared to the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC was formed in 1995 with members Chris Kirkpatrick, Lance Bass, Joey Fatone, JC, and of course Justin Timberlake. In addition to receiving 9 Grammy nominations, NSYNC also performed at the Super Bowl and sang the national anthem at the 2000 World Series and the 2002 Olympic Games in Salt Lake City. Their most popular singles, primarily with the youth, include hits like I Want You Back in 1996. I guess it's not the youth anymore. It's like the what is it now? The millennials, right? That grew up with them. I Want You Back, 1996. Music of My Heart, 1999. Bye Bye Bye, 2000. It's Gonna Be Me, 2000. This I Promise You, 2000, good year. And Girlfriend featuring Nelly in 2002. Entertainment Weekly ranked NSYNC as the best boy band of the 1990s and 2000s. In 2018, they also received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In a lot of ways, why NSYNC is so high up there and why they edge out Backstreet Boys in particular, because those two were like a mirror image. They came out around the same time. They had kind of the same age group. They, their songs sounded the same. Their fan base was similar, although don't say back then if you were an NSYNC fan, go against Backstreet Boys or the other way around, because God forbid. But very similar, the two of them, and what edges out NSYNC is that one guy named Justin Timberlake. That guy was freaking talented. And I dare say he may have topped his success with NSYNC as a solo artist. If not, it's at least very close. So, yeah, hats off to Justin Timberlake. Coming in at number 3 is NSYNC. Okay, these next two, especially number 1, Well, I guess this one's not so surprising, but my number one might be to you. I don't know. It shouldn't be, but it might be. But let's get to number two first. The Jackson Five come in at number two. The Jackson Five were an American singing group made up of brothers Tito, Marlon, Jackie, Jermaine, and of course, Michael Jackson. They were one of the very first African American acts to attain a crossover following. In 1969, they signed with Motown Records, where they became the first ever singing group to debut with 4 consecutive number one hits. This list included the songs I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There, which was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. They also charted a few other popular tracks in the US, including Never Can Say Goodbye, Dancing Machine, 1974, Enjoy Yourself, 1976, and Shake Your Body Down to the Ground, 1979. As you can see by this song list, the Jackson 5 were able to seamlessly transition from having a distinct Motown sound to becoming a pioneer in the evolution of a new sound called, you guessed it, disco. They also served as a template for how future boy bands would look and sound. New Edition is a perfect example. I remember when New Edition first came out, Bobby Brown reminded me of Michael Jackson. Nothing alike as they grew up, but at the very beginning, I remember looking at New Edition. Who are these guys trying to copy Jackson 5? Anyway, they were a great band, though, New Edition, too, right? Having sold over 150 million records worldwide, Jackson 5 are one of the best-selling groups of all time. Some of their accolades include a 1997 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and in 1999, they were also inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame. Number two on DJ Ray's list of the greatest boy bands of all time, you got it, the Jackson 5. Which brings me to the one and only greatest boy band of all time. And I got to be honest, I do these lists. I do my research. I compile, how many Grammys they've won, awards in general, how many top hits they had, number one hits, get an extra. A lot of things go into this. And before I started working on this list earlier in the week, I would have never pictured this band being number one, but they truly are. Number one, all time, greatest boy band, the Bee Gees. Although you may not immediately think of the Bee Gees when you think of boy bands, let me assure you that they not only epitomize the role, they were true pioneers. Formed in 1958. You got that? The Bee Gees. Formed in 1958. Not 68, 58. By brothers Barry, Robin, and Morris. Their ages ranged between 8 and 11, with Barry being the eldest. You can't really get any more boy band than that. Robin's clear vibrato vocals were a hallmark of the group's early vibe, while Barry's R&B falsetto became their signature sound during the mid-1970s and early 1980s. Having sold, check this, over 250 million records around the world, the Bee Gees charted multiple singles, including popular hits like Lonely Days, 1970, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart, 1971, Jive Talkin', 1975, You Should Be Dancing, 1976, How Deep Is Your Love, 1977, let me catch my breath, Staying Alive, 1977, Night Fever, 1978, Too Much Heaven, 1978, and Tragedy, 1979. To date, they have sold over, strike that. In 1994, the Bee Gees were asked to join the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And in 1997, they were officially inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. On June 27th, 2018, Barry Gibb, the last surviving member of the Bee Gees, was honorably knighted by Prince Charles himself. Coming in at number one boy band of all time, and think about this, the Bee Gees could play instruments, but when did you see them at their best? The three of them right up front singing. that's the best instrument they had was their voices. They were all amazing. And they epitomized boy band, but they were so great, kind of like the Beatles, putting the Beatles in there. You almost say, you can't put the Bee Gees in there, but you really can. As great as they were, and I think they win this one almost hands down, as great as they were, you know, yeah. So there you have it. Number one, GOAT boy band is the Bee Gees, which takes me to, before I let you go, next week, April Fool's Day, April 1st, we're going to have the greatest 80s song of all time on DJ Ray's Music Goats. Thanks, Frankie. I appreciate you saying that. And be sure and check me out on social media. I'm on most of the major platforms, and you can easily find me by typing in DJ Ray's Music on your favorite platform. Alternately, you can check out my official website at djraysmusic.com. Thanks, Debbie. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you joining me, Riki. Thank you. Yeah, it's a tough one, eh, Riki? I didn't actually even guess the Bee Gees when I started doing it. I wasn't even sure I would have the Bee Gees on the list. One of the most crazy turn of events, but they check every box so well. And they better start calling the Bee Gees a boy band, because that's really what they are by true definition. Anyways, thanks a lot, everybody, for coming out. I appreciate all the support and the love and the likes and the gifts and everything. And I hope to see you next Tuesday, April 1st, for my greatest of all time 80s song. Have a good one.